You're watching WPTZ News Channel 5. This is First at 5.
And it is day 2 of a major winter storm. Good evening, I'm George Mallet. Steph is off. A lot of us got a break in the action overnight, but today, round 2 of this storm has been, well, relentless. We have team coverage of this snow event. WPTZ's Jared Hill is watching the roads live in Colchester. Stuart Ledbetter is covering the power outages. He's in Bristol, Vermont. We have tag team weather coverage from our meteorologists. Gib Brown standing by on the weather deck. But let's get things started with Tom Messner. He is in the Weather Center. Tom.
All righty, George. I want to let you know, National Weather Service looking at things this morning said, hey, this storm is going to go on for a while. Of course, we were talking about that last night. Their winter storm warning has been extended until 11 o'clock tonight, and they're actually talking about maybe extending it into tomorrow morning. Pink area highlighting where I'm talking about here, where some of us will find 6+ inches more snow on top of what we've already seen, and maybe some rain mixed in from time to time, especially off to the east. Meanwhile, parts of the upper valley, a winter weather advisory in effect where we find more mixing going on. Storm Tracker 5000, will you take a look at this thing? It is round 2. We had a big break in the action. I know when I was shoveling at home today, it actually wasn't too bad out. The wind has since picked up, and obviously the snow also has picked up. We've seen bands coming through the Champlain Valley. It's been snowing at more than an inch per hour. Meanwhile, we'll widen out a little bit. You come on over to eastern Vermont, where it's been pretty consistent. We've got a lot more mixing going on, not only in the upper valley, but as you get into New Hampshire, and that low pressure off the coast, this thing is relentless. It continues to just sit there. Some of the snow reports we know about: Warren, 15 inches, Killington, 14, over a foot, Greensboro, Lake Placid, and in Bristol, we've seen a foot of snow as well. Well, speaking of snow, we have sent meteorologist Gib Brown out on the weather deck. And Gib, I know the snow is coming down at a pretty good clip. What's it looking like now?
I tell you what, Tom, you and I are veterans of this weather deck and storms, winter storms especially. I'll tell you what, it is snowing as hard right now as I've seen it snow in a very, very long time. Certainly harder than the snow that fell around 2 or 3 o'clock this morning. And it is very, very windy out here. We're getting gusts of wind over 30 miles an hour. Now, as we look at the weather stick here, we're getting about 8 inches of snow, but it is coming down at a rate I would estimate at about 2 inches an hour. So it's really coming down. And let me show you the effect of the winds. If we can get that camera up to the light over there, Matt. The winds are just bringing that snow almost horizontally across the region. That is going to be the problem tonight. The wind, the low visibilities, almost blizzard-like conditions out here. And we are looking at this very heavy wet snow. We'll talk about how heavy it is for the shovelers. But I'll tell you what, Tom, it is coming down.
All righty, Gib, thank you very much. We will be checking back with him in just a few minutes. So how much snow are we going to throw on top of the stuff we've already seen? Well, here's the thinking through tomorrow afternoon. Champlain Valley and then points south as you come into western Vermont, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. We've got still a bullseye as you head toward the Adirondacks, thinking more 6 to 9 there, and then off to the east where there'll be more mixing, round about 1 to 3 inches, certainly some isolated areas, just a little bit more than that. Well, we've got a lot to talk about. We'll check the radar again. Of course, we'll check the wind factor out, and also the weekend is not that far away. Your 5-day forecast +2, it is on the way.
Well, Tom, if you're out in the kitchen right now not looking at the TV, I want to call your attention to the fact that there are nearly 100 schools that have canceled classes and after-school activities for tonight, and they are scrolling there at the bottom of your screen. Now, yesterday at this time, we were riding along with V-Trans crews, a veteran plow driver named Houston Lee telling us he knew he was in for a long night and a busy day today. His prediction was clearly accurate. Road crews throughout the region have their work cut out for them. WPTZ's Jared Hill can back me up on that. He's watching road conditions tonight and joins us live in Colchester. Jared.
Yeah, George, I'm out here in Colchester, and I'm standing kind of to the side, not to look cool, but because the snow is blowing across in this direction. Like Gibb said, there's a lot of wind that's out here, a lot of snow, making it not only tricky on the roads, but also making it harder for drivers to see. You can take a look here behind me. The big issue right now is really the backups and delays. Now, earlier today, South Burlington Police, actually not too long ago, sent out a note saying that the Lime Kiln Road bridge area was extremely backed up, and then also all link routes in Vermont are running about half an hour late due to the weather. Vermont State Police say that they have had to deal with more than about a dozen or so crashes due to the weather since around 4 o'clock this morning. And according to the Agency of Transportation, these conditions are pretty widespread, with much of the western portion of Vermont having some difficult conditions. And as you can see out here in Colchester, that is definitely the case. Now, coming up a little bit later on in the newscast, we're going to take a look at how this is impacting people flying in and out of the area. For now, live in Colchester, Jared Hill, WPTZ, News Channel 5.
Thanks, Jared. Well, turning from the roads to the juice, power, that is. The number of power outages has been changing by the hour, but make no mistake about it, the outages are widespread. In fact, over 19,000 customers are without power right now in Vermont. Just over 900 reported by NYSEG in New York, and PSNH in New Hampshire is reporting only about a dozen in the Upper Valley. WPTZ's Stuart Ledbetter is the journalist with the juice, and he joins us live in Bristol tonight with an update on power outages. Stu.
Well, Bristol literally looking a whole lot brighter just in the last hour and a half or so. Trust me, George, there isn't some Hollywood guy dumping buckets of snow on our heads here. These, as Gib was saying, the snowflakes here are enormous, and they've just moved in here in the last half hour or so. But for much of the day, half of this community had power and half didn't. The only real sound you'd hear for much of this day was the sound of power generators and snowplows going by across this community of about 4,000. The town offices were out, so was the one traffic light. Away from the village center, Bristol, Moncton, Starksboro looked like a snow bomb had gone off, downing tree limbs and power lines along with them. At Bobcat Cafe and Brewery here in Bristol, it was 56 degrees inside. Staff were planning to pour some beers tonight as they tried to reach customers with reservations to let them know they might want to reschedule or at least cross the street, which did have electricity.
It's very weird. We've actually power like this in the 6.5 years that we've been here, so it's pretty unusual.
Now, we met linemen from New Brunswick, Canada, who drove all day to help Green Mountain Power. In this one community of Bristol, they had 37 different broken lines to repair. But by about 3:30 this afternoon, the lights came back on, at least downtown, although GMP says they still have 2,200 in the dark in this surrounding area at this hour, folks entering a second night without electricity. Bristol Emergency Management tells us that there is going to be an emergency shelter opening, actually it should be open within the hour, at the municipal building in Middlebury for anyone in Addison County or beyond who wants a warm meal or a warm place to stay. But Green Mountain Power warning us tonight that for some of the hardest hit areas of Vermont, it could be Saturday before all of the lights are back on. We're live in Bristol, Vermont tonight. Stuart Ledbetter, WPTZ News Channel 5. Back to you.
Wow, that puts things in perspective. Thanks, Stu. Well, in pockets across the region, smaller utilities are also struggling to restore power. Vermont Electric Cooperative saw outages jump back up during the day today as tree limbs snapped onto lines or snapped back into place and took the power lines down with them. VEC has 20 extra contract crews working to get customers back online. At this hour, VCE is reporting over 2,600 customers without juice, the most being in Eden, Heinsberg, Norton, and Starksboro.
As far as we have winter storms like this, like last year, we had a 10-day ice storm, and it's certainly not as challenging as that one so far. Now, certainly the snow is the heaviest and wettest snow we've ever seen.
Now, the good news, Hallquist does not anticipate extended outages for his customers. Most outages are concentrated in Chittenden and Lamoille counties. Well, getting around in the snow is a difficult task for everyone. For people with mobility limitations, though, it's even more challenging. WPTZ's Hannah McDonald takes a look at the systems in place to assist people with disabilities.
It's slippery out. It's, like today, it's nobody's fault, but it's a mess. Barbara Barranco depends on handicap-accessible parking spots in her day-to-day activities. She often stays inside on snowy days.
It's too dangerous.
And although everyone is feeling the pressures of the winter season, navigating slippery sidewalks and barely shoveled paths is even tougher for people who rely on assistance to get around.
Added distance can become a real factor for them getting in and out of a business or a government office or any other kind of office.
When reserved spots are taken by drivers who do not have a DMV-issued placard, that stable and reliable place to park is no longer an option for drivers with mobility impairments. The capital city has 25 handicap spots.
Oftentimes we hear people say, well, I'm only going to be a few minutes, and we have to enforce that without really giving consideration to whether it's a few minutes or a few hours, that handicapped people need those spaces that are in close proximity to key areas.
The city issues a $277 ticket to drivers who illegally park in a handicap spot. Disability Rights Vermont says although they do not field many cases of parking spot misuse, it happens.
As a person myself who uses a wheelchair to get around, I think in general we don't see a lot of complaints because most people with disabilities do their best to get where they need to go with what's out there and are very appreciative.
This time of year, business owners, municipalities, and homeowners are also being reminded to clear their walkways, even if those who are dependent on support are staying indoors.
It's difficult, walking. We just don't go out when it's like this for the most part.
In Montpelier, Hannah McDonald, WPTZ, News Channel 5.
Well, thanks, Hannah. Parking bans remain in effect overnight tonight. In Burlington, parking on the street and in municipal parking lots is banned starting at 10 until 7 in the morning. The ban downtown starts at midnight. Parking will be available at the Marketplace and Macy's. A $125 ticket and towing awaits those who leave their cars on the street. Now, Plattsburgh's parking ban now goes from midnight until 6 in the morning. The municipal parking lot ban is from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. Vehicles left in those lots or on the road also face tickets and being towed. Coming up, this storm is stranding travelers at the airport. We caught up with one student who was stuck sleeping at Burlington International. And Plattsburgh residents required to shovel their sidewalks. WPTZ's Allison Carey explains the rules next on 5:30 Now.